If you've been around the news lately, you've probably seen the LastPass data breach pop up in your feeds, and searching LastPass in the news feeds brings a wealth of information about a data breach that occurred back in August of 2022. With this data breach, hackers have gained access to customer personal information as well as customer vaults. And depending on the hashing algorithm set in the settings of your vault, it can be very easy for hackers to get a hold of your passwords, websites, and other information. Today, I'm going to show you how to set up a self-hosted password manager all on your Home Assistant instance. It is a simple add-on based on Bitwarden. They call it Vaultwarden in Home Assistant. And I will go through the steps of setting that up and then show you a few things about that. So let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned in the intro, there is an add-on to Home Assistant that makes it very easy to host your own copy of a password manager called Vaultwarden. This Vaultwarden is based on Bitwarden, and the add-on itself is based on the open source version called Vaultwarden. And if you want to look at Vaultwarden, you can go through all of the code here, and you can determine from a security standpoint if this is something that you feel is secure enough for you to use in place of something like 1Pass or LastPass if you're still wanting to do that. And that's an easy way for you to determine your own security posture. Now, Bitwarden has been vetted by a number of folks, and there are a lot of people in the security community over the last couple of weeks have been talking about the LastPass breach, saying that Bitwarden is a preferred alternative to that. So even the security community is looking towards Bitwarden or some alternative, but Bitwarden falls in a trusted area. Again, do your own research, figure out if this is something you want to do yourself. And again, this is based on the lightweight open source Vaultwarden implementation, allowing you to self-host this amazing password manager. And it talks about all of this stuff here. I have been using a password manager for years because I have a lot of websites that I log into, and I don't want people to get compromise a website, which will happen. Websites are going to be compromised. You need to be using a separate, different password on every site that you log into. Once they have one of your passwords, if you use it across your entire property or all of your sites that you log into, you're going to be wiped out. So make sure you're using a very strong, different password for every site. And what makes password managers nice is you don't have to remember what they are. You remember your one master password and nothing else. And then you don't have an issue with trying to remember, well, what's my password for blah, 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 because you have it in your password manager. In addition, password managers can also generate secure passwords for you based on your settings. So again, this is Bitwarden, and we're going to go ahead and install that on our Home Assistant instance now. And all you do for that is you go over here to the add-on store, click on add-on, and then you just click or search for Vaultwarden. Again, Vaultwarden is a name for the open source version of Bitwarden. So it's the same stuff. The add-ons that you put in your browser or that you run on your phones or tablets, that is still a Bitwarden setup. So here's Bitwarden. It's super simple to install. Click on install, and it will go through the install process for you to set up your own version of your own password manager. Now, while this is installing, one thing I want to point out is that you have your Home Assistant instance backed up off of the device that you are running this on. If you lose your password manager, your password vault, I mean, you can go through, it's not the end of the world. You can go through and do a forgot password on all of the different sites that you need to log into. So it's not an end of the world situation. However, it makes it very inconvenient. So if you're going to run something like your own password manager locally hosted, make sure that you're backing up your Home Assistant instance or wherever you run the password manager. You're going to want to also store it off of the device it's running on. So keep it on a NAS, on a backup drive, something, and make sure you control physical security to that thing if you're going to back up to it. I can't stress enough the backup. Do the backups. And I have some videos on using Samba sharing backups that I back up to my NAS, and you can do Google Drive backup, stuff like that. And if you're concerned about vault security, you can research the Bitwarden encryption, how they encrypt their passwords and whatnot in the vault so that can't be accessed, even if you store it in Dropbox or somewhere else. All right, so it is up and running now, and all we're going to do is look at configuration page. You can set some certificate files. I recommend if you're going to do password manager on your Home Assistant instance that you have SSH in some form, either use Nabu Casa since it's an SSH domain, or set up something. I've got lots of videos on Nginx reverse proxies, all that stuff where you're sending your data across the wire in an encrypted format via SSL or something like that. So here's your SSL stuff you can set up. You can enforce SSL. And then here's the network port to expose the add-on to. All of that is default for now. All right, and then we're just going to start it up. And the first thing we're going to do is go to the web UI. So we're going to open that up now. So once you first open the web UI, you're going to need to create an account. So we'll start there. We need to do an email address. So we will put an email address here. We'll give it a name, or for whoever it is, that's me. And then your master password. Make sure your master password is strong and it's something you can remember. This locks your vault, and without the master password, you cannot get back into your vault. So let's go ahead and do that now. And make sure it says strong right here. And we'll retype it again. Okay, and you can give a password hint if you want to. I'm not going to do that today. And then we can create an account. And now I have to log in with my master password. And we will log in. And now we have a basic vault where all of our information will go into. And from here, you can add items such as a login, a card, identity, or secure note. And then you would put in the username and password. And then you can do URIs. For example, like it says here, google.com. So we can go to, I don't know, you can do gmail.com, whatever it is. And then any notes you want to put down here. And you can set default detection based on base domain, host, whether it starts with regular expression. All of these things are typical of a full-featured password manager. You can also do a TOTP authenticator key with this as well. Now, if you have family members that want to use your password manager, you can do that as well. I do have family members that have their own vaults within my hosted instance. All you do is you make sure that when you're logging in, you log in as that person. And if you're going to create a new family member, you just go to that create account page and create a whole new family member. And of course, we're in my vault now. We can do all items. We can go to our favorites, our trash. If you put things in the trash, they will hang out for a while and will be automatically deleted. You can create logins. You can create cards. So if you want to add a card, name, cardholder name, brand, number. Now, I haven't yet done this. I'm a little more wary about putting credit card information inside of my vault, but you can if you feel comfortable doing that. You can create an identity, so you can add an item here. And again, you can choose all of this kind of stuff from right here. And you can put a name, social security, password, whatever these things are. But you can store more than just passwords in your vault. For example, under secure notes, I have a whole bunch of things. And one of the things I do with my secure notes is, let's say, I'm just going to say website 2FA codes. And I'm going to put in all of those codes. If you put on like a YubiKey or something like that, and they give you those one-time temporary codes, you can store those as a secure note within your notes part of your vault. And then you can add, of course, custom fields. You can do hidden fields. You can do a Boolean field. And then any of these, you can have it reprompt for your master password before it will display these things to you. So under login, for example, if we go to a login, you can still do the same thing. You can also do, again, custom fields down here. But you can always do a master password reprompt if you want the password prompt before somebody sees this. So it's kind of a double layer of security. Now, I don't do that because I do a lot of stuff for my phone, and I don't need the prompt to come up. Typing that little long password every time is not necessary for me. And then you can create folders. You can put stuff in websites, for example, website folder. You can create a folder for banks. I mean, you can put stuff in all these different folders. And then when you're searching for something, it's easier to find it on your within your folders. So there are some tools up here, some things you can do with Vaultwarden. One of them is to send text or a file. And there is work in Bitwarden to allow you to send credentials over to somebody, which is something I think you can do with LastPass now or some of the other password managers. It's not here yet, but they are working on it from what I can see. But you can send either a file or text. This is some text and text demo, whatever you want to put in here. When accessing the send, hide the text by default as an option. And then you can copy the link to send to clipboard upon save. And you send somebody the link and it has the information in there. So you could send them a password for a site using this send. You just copy and paste it in here. They can have it for however many hours or days you want to set this for. And that's what it does. It deletes the send. And then you can expire in so long. So you could say, well, you have 1 hour to get the password. Otherwise, it's going to disappear. However many times they can access it. And then a password to access the send itself. So there's all kinds of options for sending somebody something securely using Vaultwarden/Bitwarden. Under Tools, you have a generator where you can generate all of the passwords, which we do now. And then you have Import Data. So you can select an import file. And you can see right here, we have password manager files. And I actually, years ago when I started using Vaultwarden, I imported all of my LastPass stuff directly into Bitwarden. So there are options now to import a ton of different types of vaults directly into Bitwarden. So if you're moving from LastPass to Bitwarden, this is something that will save you a lot of time. However, if your LastPass has been compromised, it's best that you probably don't import these things because they are probably already compromised. That's the sad part about the situation we're in now. You're probably going to want to create new passwords for every site that you had in LastPass. But that's up to you if you want to do that or not. And then, of course, you can export your vault in JSON or CSV or encrypted JSON. And then you have the ability to report on all of these things. You can do exposed passwords, reused, weak, unsecured websites, any inactive two-step logins, or any data breaches. You can use these reports based on what's in your vault, and it will send you all of the information related to all your passwords. So it's basically a security check for your passwords and stuff you've got stored within your vault here. So this covers the basic use of the UI. You have the ability to store different types of items. You have different folders that you can organize things into. You have vaults or organizations if you want to use more than one organization. For personal use, you probably don't need to worry about that. And then, of course, you have some tools I talked about across the top. The UI is great. However, you're probably not going to spend much time in the UI at all. You're going to be spending time on websites where you're going to need to log in. And for that, the best use case or the best way to do that is to use a helper or extension for your browser. And Bitwarden has official password manager helpers, extensions, whatever for Firefox, Chrome, probably other browsers as well. The two I know about are Chrome and Firefox, and that's what we're talking about today. So if we go to the helper, which I've already got installed, you can see here. Let me pull this down a little bit. If you click on the helper, once you install it, you're going to have to log in. And you're going to see up here a setting. You're going to need to go to settings first before you do anything else, because if you do not, it's not going to work for you. It's going to try to default to the cloud or online version of Bitwarden. You're going to need to change it to the self-hosted. And under settings, once you click on settings, you need to put in your server URL. This is probably going to fail here because I'm not using SSL. But you do have to put in this, and then the 7277 is the port. And you can do custom environments for everything else, but you don't need to do all that. And then we can save it, and it's saved the URL. And you're going to have to log in with the credentials that you used when you set up your account. And then you'll use your master password and log in with master password. Now, if you try to log in with your master password, you have everything correct, including your email address, and you get an error like this, chances are you probably don't have your SSL stuff set up. You need to make sure your Bitwarden, Vaultwarden is accessible with a correct SSL certificate, and that everything works in the browser before trying to use the extension. If it doesn't, it's not going to work for you. So in my case, I'm using an Nginx reverse proxy to generate and manage my SSL certificate and also point to my Bitwarden instance, both internally and externally. Okay, so I've logged back into my production, and you'll notice that I need to insert my YubiKey. In addition to using username and password, you can also use some sort of two-factor authentication with Bitwarden. In this case, I've got a YubiKey that I'm going to put in the computer here. And it's going to log me into my vault. And so now I'm in my vault. Anytime I go to a website that matches up here in the URL, a domain or a URI that I put in my vault, it's going to ask me to automatically log in that domain, or it will allow me to auto fill that in. It'll have a little number up here, and you can see that over here. Because I'm in Chrome, which is a Google deal, I have 4 different Google things to log into. And so it tells me I have 4 options here for password selection. And if I click on them, then you can see here that I have options, which are blurred out, of course, for you. But I have options to choose from, and I can just click any one of these to automatically fill in the username and password on the site that I'm on. And that's how this works for a browser extension. You don't have to remember the passwords, which means you can generate 20 character long special characters, all kinds of stuff, secure passwords on each of the sites you go to, and it won't matter what they are because you don't have to remember them. All of that's going to be done within Bitwarden. So that's a browser extension there. Let's go back over here and let's talk about one more thing with the account settings. Under security, you can change your current master password. And if you do that, of course, you'll be logged out of your session. And then you can rotate your account encryption key if you want to do that. And it gives you little helps here. Rotating your account encryption key generates a new key that is used to re-encrypt all vault data. You should consider rotating your key if your account has been compromised, such as in a way that someone has obtained your encryption key. So that gives you an additional layer of security if you need to use that. Under two-step login, here are your providers you can use. Enabling two-step login can permanently log you out of your account. A recovery code allows you to access your account in the event that you can no longer use your normal two-step provider if you lose your device or whatever. This is standard two-factor stuff. On most websites that you set up for two-factor authentication, you can choose different ones, different providers, and then you can also have those backup keys stored somewhere so you can get into it. Now, if you store your two-factor authentication backup keys for Bitwarden in Bitwarden, obviously you're going to have a problem. So you're going to have to be careful about how you store the backups whenever you need this. I've got 2 or 3 different keys that I use with Bitwarden, so that allows me to get in. If I lose one of the keys, I still have access to things. So consider how you set that stuff up. But you can use Google Authenticator or Authy as an app on your phone or device. You can use the YubiKey, which is what I use. You've got Duo, WebAuth, and then email verification codes can be emailed to you as well. So if you have access to your email, you can get it that way. So here are ways to set up additional security for your password vaults. And then encryption key settings. You can choose your key iterations here. This is a big discussion they had on LastPass on how you set these up. Higher KDF iterations can protect your master password from being brute forced by an attacker. We recommend a value of 100,000 or more, which is where it is now. Some LastPass instances early on were set to 1, right? So you have the ability to set these iterations. Setting your iterations too high can result in poor performance when logging into and unlocking Bitwarden on devices with slower CPUs. So only increment this in values of 50,000 and test your devices. And then, of course, you can use an API key to authenticate to the Bitwarden CLI. All that's above what we're talking about in this video in terms of this stuff. But I would, if you feel like you need more security, in light of what the LastPass stuff was talking about, you can up your iterations again, 50,000 at a time. All right, preferences over here, vault timeouts. You can set your vault timeout for 1 minute, 15, all these different options here, even on browser refresh. One of the options I have over here in my setup here is under settings. I want to do security. This is something where I set my vault timeout on my browser to be never, because I don't want to have to log it in every time I'm doing something. That's because I have physical control of my computer. If you do not have physical control of the device where your browser is running all the time, I would set this to on system lock, on browser restart, or just whenever these other options are. That way you're not leaving it unsecured all the time. Never is not a good setting. I use it because I know specifically where this computer sits, which is here. So keep that in consideration. It does not default to never, by the way. I don't remember what it defaults to, but it's not never. And then on a Vault timeout, you can either log out or lock it. You can use a PIN to unlock it, or you can use biometrics if your computer has a biometric scanner on it. And then all of these other things are set up for two-step, and then of course you can lock it now. So just keep that in mind when you're talking about the applications and the extensions and everything you put on these browsers. Make sure that you are setting those to be as secure as you need them to be for your personal setup. And then this is for the web browser. It locks after 15 minutes. You can, again, choose whatever you want there. And then you can choose to show the website icons, gravatars, and then some other just specific things for your preferences. Domain rules. If you have the same login across multiple website domains, you can mark the website as equivalent. Here are some global equivalent domains that are all the same. So for example, Ameritrade is the same as TD Ameritrade. Bank of America is BOFA and BNA. So you can set all of these to be equivalent. So if you get logged into one of these, it will show you an option for all of these different. So Sprint and Nextel are the same. YouTube, Google, and Gmail are all the same, equivalent domains, etc. You can add your own. These are all just that are ones that are built in. So, but you can add anything you want there under equivalent domains. And then emergency access, you can grant and manage emergency access for trusted contacts. They can request to view or take over your account in case of an emergency. And then you can add these emergency contacts here, either view, take over, and then their wait time is so many days. So you can also have the list of designated emergency contacts here yet. So that's basically an overview of the Bitwarden and how you can use that in Home Assistant as an add-on. The important points of this video are: get a password manager if you do not have one. If you're using LastPass, it has been recommended by the community and the security community that you get off of that. There's been a lot of issues with that. It's your preference. It's your comfort with them or anybody or any password manager. Your security is paramount. You control your security. You're the one responsible for anything that gets out there using other people's stuff. In other words, if LastPass has a data breach and you choose to use LastPass, it's really up to you how comfortable you are with that situation. It's the same with Bitwarden. How comfortable you are with hosting your own. You don't have to host your own. You can use Bitwarden's cloud service. You can use OnePass or any of these other ones that are being talked about in the media. But if you want to run your own, this is the way to do it. What I am not covering in this video is how you get access remotely to your password manager. I do it using Nginx Reverse Proxy. I have it locked down. On my phone, I can see my passwords using the Bitwarden app on my phone. So that is also an option for you. Install the Bitwarden app. Set your server to your hosted server, if that's what you want to do. If you want to do something like Tailscale, where the only way you can access your password manager is if you're on your VPN or Tailscale is active or whatever, so you're on your local network, that's also an option. I use AdGuard to redirect my request for Bitwarden to my my Bitwarden instance here with an SSL certificate. Externally, I also do the same thing. I also use Tailscale to access my local network. There's all these options is what I'm saying. I'm getting a little wordy here, but what I'm saying is, okay, you start asking questions on how do I access this remotely? How do I do all these things? There are lots and lots of ways to do that, lots of ways to do it securely. It's really up to you how you do it. If it's beyond your comfort level to host your own password manager, don't do it. Just use one of the reputable ones out there. Bitwarden has a paid version you can use. OnePass is one I've heard a lot about, and there are probably others as well. Do your research, figure out which one you think you're most comfortable with, and use that password manager. Okay, so I've gotten long-winded again. My videos are never short. Even though I think it's going to be a short video, it doesn't end up to be a short video. There's so much to talk about on each individual topic. If you did like what you saw today, please hit the subscribe button. Roughly 25% of you that watch my videos are subscribers, but the rest of you are not. It just takes a second. Push the little button, and then you'll get to see other content I make in the future. If you're not a channel member, you can support me by becoming a channel member. The link is down below here as well. Just click join. And then I can answer questions from you on Discord. And then also on the comments if you have any of those, again, down below here. And with that, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what password manager you've decided to go with. Let me know if you're going to stick around with LastPass. And just talk it up in the comments or on Discord or whatever. And thanks for watching. We will see you on the next video.